Welcome to Automotive EV. My name is Peter Wooding and thank you for joining us. Today's session, I'm joined with Nick Rees from Jaguar Land Rover and also Jordi Jove from LKW Walter, who will be steering us through a major sustainability focus, and it's titled really Journey to Destination Zero. What we will do, I will share with you and show you the Jaguar Land Rover's Journey to Destination Zero, and then as that completes, I will then introduce Nick and Jordi, who will then start to go through the presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. I'll hand over to Nick now. Nick, if you don't mind, just for anyone that may not know you, if you could just run through a couple of minutes of who you are and what you do, and then we could go into your presentation. So it's over to you, Nick.
Okay. Morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Nick Rees. I'm the inbound freight strategy and operations senior manager for Jaguar Land Rover. So in effect, I am responsible for the inbound freight network to our production facilities across the world. So we have 4 plants within the UK, plant in Nitra, Slovakia, a joint venture in China, and then also 2 low volume manufacturing facilities, one in Brazil and one in India. And I have now been at Jaguar Land Rover just over 2 years, and we started this project approximately 12 months ago now. So yeah, that's me. So Jordi, do you want to do a brief intro?
Yes, thank you, Nick. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to join this call. My name is Jordi Jove. I am 30 years at LKW Walter. I am a director. I am running in my activities the work of checking how to help international companies to become more digitalized, sustainable, and effective. So the project with JLR has been a very nice one to do, and I'm very thankful to JLR and DHL to have done it. Thank you. Peter? You're mute, Peter.
That's a good plan. I always forget to do that, even though I always tell everybody else not to. So it's over to your presentation, Nick. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully that is now visible to everyone. Yes, Peter?
Yes.
Can you see that? Okay, great. Okay, super. Okay, so like I say, this was a project that we started approximately 12 months ago. This was with regards to our movements from from our UK supply base to Nitra in Slovakia. So the plant in Nitra produces our Defender and Discovery models. We build approximately 100,000 cars a year there. We have resourced a lot of the supply base to Eastern Europe, but we have a number of suppliers, approximately 75, 80, who continue to supply the plant from the UK, and our challenge was to identify a robust, resilient, sustainable, and also a cost-effective solution to move that material. In terms of volumes, we are talking about approximately 120 trailers a week from UK to Nitra, and then in return approximately 40 to 50 trailers coming back from Nitra to UK with the empty returnable packaging. So previously we had utilised a standard road transport for this material, and then like I say, we started the project with DHL and LKW Walter this time last year to look for a more, say, sustainable solution. Okay, if I just take you through some of the detail. So what we are doing, we are using two unaccompanied short sea services from Killingholme to Rotterdam. That's for our routes from the Midlands and North of England, and then also utilising the unaccompanied short sea service fleet to Rotterdam, and then a rail leg from Rotterdam across to Vienna, and then a relatively short road transport movement from Vienna to Nitra. That is the principles of the overall solution. Jordi, would you like to make any comments at this stage?
No, just I think you clarified quite well. Very important is the complexity from automotive factory to have 50, 60 suppliers in the UK, and to be all the time on time in Nitra, in a new factory. I have to clarify that in the three flows of physical flow, information flow, and the financial flow, everything runs perfectly in the way we just designed it together with DHL.
Yeah. Yes, so we're just on that point, to build on Jordi's comments there, one of the key criteria that we could not compromise was the need to meet and indeed improve the previous road transit at times. Obviously, as I think everybody knows, we hold very little inventory within the plants, and therefore getting a regular on time delivery of material is absolutely critical, and therefore this whole supply chain route in terms of the timings of the collections from suppliers, the times of the ferries across to Europe, and then the onward rail link were absolutely critical. So currently we have 4 departures a week of our train from Rotterdam to Vienna, So this is a journey which takes approximately 26 hours. And like I say, that is running 4 times a week currently.
And also quite important, Nick, is to say that it was always the objective to reduce lead times. It is the cost of inventory involved for these 50 suppliers. And the whole aim in the project was not that intermodal solution would be, let's say, not running as the trucks are running. We even managed in many cases to improve it.
Yeah. Okay, so again, this slide here just shows a bit more information in terms of what those movements are. And I guess, as well as ourselves at LKW Walter, within this operation, I think it is important to note we've had to have very, very close working relationships with the terminal handlers in both Rotterdam and also Vienna to ensure that there are no delays within those terminals that could jeopardize the overall transit time.
Very important to say that all the trailers are GPS equipped. This means it's important to have full visibility where the trailers are every time. And this is detail and very important.
And then in terms of what to say, summary of those benefits have been, we're forecasting just over 7 million kilos of CO2 savings this year. We will have saved just over 9 million road kilometers, and indeed removed 8,000 truckloads from the roads across Europe. I think also the other benefits that this has brought within this era of driver shortages across both UK and also Europe is that by using the unaccompanied services, we are obviously reducing the need to have drivers with the trailers whilst they are in transit. And also, I think what we have seen is with our recent challenges such as COVID, Brexit, that actually using these ports, which are probably less busy than the main Dover, Calais, or indeed Eurotunnel crossings, that we have been able to avoid a lot of the disruption at those ports. And also this has allowed us to reduce some of the delays around the COVID testing for drivers. So I think whilst these were not factors that were really envisaged as part of our sustainability objectives when we started this project, they have definitely brought additional benefits to us. And I think probably the best probably way of measuring has this been a successful project is that not only have we made these significant sustainability improvements, we've also maintained production in our plant in Nitra throughout a very challenging last 6 months, but both in terms of COVID and also Brexit, and therefore we are able to continue building just over 2,000 cars a week there, which obviously is great for our company. And I think
Nick?
Yeah.
One important comment as a LSP, as a logistics company. I think what JLR did was, if you go back to the year 2020, was starting from a very theoretical project to something that we finally implemented at the end of the year, because Brexit was coming 20 times during the year 2020, because politicians didn't really know when it will happen. But what we just finally found out is we want to make the project, and we want really to minimize any risk that it doesn't work. So we just tackled those points that are important so that the project will be successful. And if you just focus in such a project in a collaborative approach, where you can get the OEM, the suppliers, the planners, and the end receiving factory just to do a project like this, at the end is very, very successful, because you still maintain maybe 25% of all the floats by road, while you are changing 75% on intermodal. And having both options of intermodal and road together allows any planner to say, I go this week because I need a lower lead time with 2 drivers, or you can just go based on the normal lead time. So you have all the choices available in order that you can guarantee the supply for the factory, in this case in Slovakia. This is what we did with Nick and with DHL, to find out each week what is the needs of the factory in terms of models and production, and just try to adapt to it accordingly.
How far do you see this rolling out further across different sort of country, different sort of component production and so on movement?
We have 350 to 400 trains every week all over Europe. The automotive industry was always very reluctant to step in intermodal transportation, because the planners who are engineers, they always think something will happen with the train. But at the end, if you have a fixed lead time, you can always play as a logisticians the way you do the transport and how you organize it. So what we just see in the trend of the year 2020 and 21 is everyone wants to go to intermodal transportation. Why? Because everyone is committing to zero emissions. Everyone is willing to go for new things. We are missing for the UK lanes 50% of the drivers, because no one wants to go to the UK at this moment, because they are fearing issues, custom clearance, COVID, or any other things. If I talk only about the UK, if you see the situation in Europe, it's exactly the same. The month of January, even February now, the orders, you are fully booked. So logistics and supply chain, they carry an immense good job. If you just look to last mile distribution or to long haul transportation, we all miss really the situation that we have. We need more drivers, we need more everything, and intermodal is the best solution. So if you go in deep as a small or big company in process, you will find out that train in many cases is much better than road, because you have fixed schedule of trains, you can report CO2 emissions, you can even make the lead times more accurate. And all these processes, if you speak to people who know about it, it's you can do a lot. So it's all about moving on and trying it, because I mean, you don't need to change everything, but you need to change supply chain in a more sustainable way. This is how we think it.
I think just building on that, I think mentioned what volumes we are currently moving in by the intermodal solution across all of our plants. That probably represents approximately 15% of our total cross-channel volumes, where we are doing approximately 1,200 trailers each week. I think our next opportunity is to look to utilise this rail leg that we are using now from Vienna to Rotterdam, to use that for our suppliers in southeastern Europe back into our UK plants. I think that is opportunity number one, and then I think secondly there's a opportunity to do something from Poland to UK, where again we have approximately 100 loads a week from Polish area into the UK plant. So I think that's probably where we see the next opportunities.
We plan trains now from Poland to Rotterdam Port, to Rotterdam Botlek, going then in the UK with the same system. We plan also Hungary via Germany, via Herne, that we have today already 6 trains per week. We plan Vienna Herne with 12 trains per week. So the highways or rail of having the trains available are there. We just need to increase the capacity in case that you have more people who want to join the system. And you have not only in the automotive industry, but every industry is asking you. If you go to IKEA, they want everything intermodal. If you go to big shippers who really have projects on that, you can really turn the supply chain very efficient and very in a way that you can reduce CO2 emissions.
Nick, if I could touch briefly on obviously Jaguar Land Rover's fabulous initiative and reimagining sort of vehicles. When we look at the, sort of the battery chain, for example, or the cell production, is this the perfect opportunity to be using the sort of backwards route from sort of Eastern Europe, if you want to call it that, and Austria, bringing in battery cells to then produce the battery over across in the UK?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is definitely a good opportunity. I think there are currently some legislative restrictions in terms of the what products you can actually carry on the intermodal service. So, as example, one of our suppliers of these batteries and battery cells is based across in Eastern Europe, and one of our objectives for this year would be to get them onto the intermodal solution once we get over these let's say legislative restrictions currently.
Thank you. Any points from your side, Jordi? Because you'll be moving certain things like that.
Every OEM and every tier 1 or tier 2 supplier, at the end, they face the same problem. They want to get to a new system that allows them to. People are starting always with a question: do we want to reduce cost? But they don't really want to reduce cost. They want to reduce the total cost. This means they want to make the whole system more efficient, and having really the whole system really organized allows them really to save money at the end. And I see a lot of inefficiencies in the system because I think if you do collaboration, checking everything, you find out where the issues are, and then you can just turn them to to a more efficient way so that you can just work and do that. And we talk about intermodal here, but we talk more about rethinking what we had in the last years, and now with the COVID situation in the automotive industry, as the volumes are just changing every month because maybe you have shortage of some parts, which make some plans to maybe to reduce the production volumes, or you have the COVID situation, or you have the demand situation moving. Having really a stable transport mode like intermodal helps you only to keep the whole supply chain more resilient and also work in a more stable way.
Given that it makes total sense to move, especially the distance that you're doing by rail, as more and more companies are starting to look at success stories like this, what pressure is that going to put on rail, potentially?
The issue when you start with such projects, the main problem is that the rail operators you need to educate the rail operators to do what the market needs. Rail operators normally they are not really used to work dedicated to certain projects, but when you do it in collaboration, just checking the type of wagons they need to lease that are allowed to get mega trailers, for example, for 3-meter high equipment. If you check the traction with the locomotive, that they can change the log drivers to reduce the lead time. All these kind of things is an education process. It's going normally top down, but when you do it many times, people get educated. They start with one transport lane. At the end, what they do is they know exactly what you need. So you can change the requirements of the rail to make it more flexible and more efficient. And very important, Peter, when we started this discussion with Nick on how to do a project, normally the OEMs, they always think they need to have the guarantee capacity and pay the rail operator or LKW, whoever, for underutilization. If Jaguar Land Rover may not have some volumes in certain weeks, we can cover them with other customers. So this means the train is an open train. The train is a Jaguar Land Rover train because we load a lot of Jaguar Land Rover, but there is not in the investment side when you do intermodal. Jaguar Land Rover doesn't need to buy 400 trailers, doesn't need to buy the train every day. We do it. So the commitment, the cost commitment of such a project of changing from road to intermodal and save 7 million kilo of CO2 at the end is not with any investment commitment to it. You don't need to commit any investment of buying any assets or any train underutilization. What you just do is changing the planning of the process from road to intermodal, keeping where is possible or even minimizing the lead times.
I also think, Jordi, just on that, I think what is also worth mentioning was that one of the critical factors here was that we also wanted to maintain using our 3-meter high internal height mega trailers, as we did not want to lose trailer fill. And I think that was very important that the intermodal solution could cater for those larger trailers, yes.
And for the automotive industry, you have two parts which are very heavy, which are the engines and the transmissions. In some cases, you can utilize with a 3-meter high trailer, you can utilize, not for the UK in this case, because it's not running with Slovakia, but in Europe, there are many countries like Italy or France that you can go to 28 to 29 tons. So this means if you have an engine plan and you can add 20% more volume on the trailer, you reduce the number of transports and you reduce the cost as well. So the cost initiative is based on doing things better instead of only focusing on if the rate of the transport is €2 more or less, which is maybe okay also to do that, but you just focus on the whole process, on the total KPI process.
Okay. We talk about sort of engines and all the other facility, but so I've got to come back on slightly now to the fact that you guys, I believe, which is right, apart from a hybrid, in 9 years' time, we're not going to have any ICE vehicles being built new. And the hybrid element is only 5 years after that, which, look at this last year, whilst the last year and all of COVID and the lockdowns and everything else has actually, we felt as though we were getting nowhere all the time, but how quick's this last year gone? And sort of put that into vehicle production, etc., and flows and planning and everything else. Is that something you're looking at now, Nick? Ready?
Yeah, indeed. So in terms of our new model lineup that we have coming into the market starting 2024 onwards, we are now starting to plan our supply chains for those models, and yes, they will be very different to the conventional diesel petrol vehicles that we have produced largely until now. And like I say, so those models will be 3 years time, but we are all already starting to plan those supply chains now. And I guess probably a key point in that, which I mentioned earlier, will be the actual transportation of the batteries, the battery cells that go into those, and again, making sure that it is the appropriate level of due process to make sure that we can safely move large quantities of those will be a key factor.
Jordi, from a rail perspective, sort of given battery weights, is this being looked at in terms of sort of load capacities, or is it not quite there to look at yet?
The thing is, batteries are quite, they can burn quite easily, not easily, but if they burn, you cannot extinguish the fire quite well. So on the rail, some rail operators are just putting some limitations on just loading batteries on trains. But this is something we need just to see the best way how to manage it. At this moment is a bit of a limitation, but that's why we still keep maybe 25% of the volumes on the road, because what you need to do is a car has not only battery supplies, but you have many other things. So to keep one part, you need also to adjust to legislation and to see that that we take the safety part also in consideration.
What for both of you would you see it's sort of not pain points that we're looking at over this coming year, but looking at the year and looking at vehicle productions, there is obviously a change in the way everything's running. From a logistics perspective, how difficult is it to maintain the focus and the change that you need as each month we go to a different opportunity, but also a challenge?
I suppose in terms of our company, I think what we are what we are seeing is that we need to be much more agile than what we have been perhaps in the past, where we need to respond better to our customer demand levels, and therefore, whereas previously we may do a production and plan for 1 quarter, which would be a relatively fixed plan, and we would build those cars in truth, regardless whether we had final customer demand, and therefore some cars would end up being parked up in compounds for a number of days, weeks, months. I think we are now becoming a lot more focused on meeting the actual final customer demand, and I guess that's where we are investing a lot in our connected supply chain projects. That we do have a genuine end-to-end visibility of those volumes going from our customers right the way back to our first tier suppliers, and indeed beyond that down to second and third tier suppliers for some of our key components, and I think that's where I think will be probably the biggest change. Therefore, we need to adapt our behaviours, adapt our plans to cater for what is likely to be a more volatile production plan. And I think to Jordi's point earlier, we are not in a position that we can commit to paying for a dedicated train services 52 weeks of the year. We need something that is flexible, that gives us the ability to use those services when we need them, but equally when we don't need them, we need to turn off our supply chain and also reduce our cost exposure. We need to have those abilities to tap into those shared user services.
So, Nick, I take the word now. I think the most important thing that we see in the year 2021 is people want to have a risk mitigation because the supply and the demand is not clear with all the ongoing events. You have the topic of digitalization and visibility, and need support in taking right decisions, and the topic of sustainability. So this means the most important thing for every company, the 3 points. This means the change in market situation, the topic of visibility, and the topic of really becoming sustainability. These are the 3 topics which are on the agenda now. And what I just see is you have a lot of game changers in year 21 of people wanting to do new things. You need just to find the right parties and partners just to do that. This is the way it works. And only doing the things on the way you did in the last 10 years, it will not help the companies to become really more competitive. And I think the customer demands, as you say, Nick, are becoming more important. People are requiring more. In order to supply all this, you need to think more and be open to do new things. This is how we see it.
We're sort of getting quite close to sort of time at the moment. One sort of question, I'm the greyest here, so I can say this. Yeah. From your perspective, and yours is not quite as much because you're the young guy in the room, Nick. But what advice would you give? Logistics is a backbone as far as I'm concerned going through, and it's something that I think customer awareness, even within the auto sector and buying cars, people are accepting the necessity and the importance of the supply chain and logistics. But what advice would you give someone who is looking to go into this industry straight from university or however? What would you tell them to look out for?
No, that is a very good question, Peter. I think what we have seen in the last probably 2-3 years is that just having that ability to keep a open mind and to challenge everything. I think probably when I started in my career, probably 22 years ago, I think there were relatively rigid constraints about how companies and their logistics partners approached solutions. I think now there's a great deal more range of options across there. I think definitely in terms of embracing technology and embracing things like shared economy, those things where we are looking for again much more shared user solutions where we can find other companies who may have a counter-seasonal demands to ours, that we can therefore improve utilization of our supply chain. I think yes, probably just having that much more broader outlook on life, and also I think taking into account the abilities now to gather and process, analyze data flows, which again, going back probably 20 years ago, we had a few spreadsheets. That's all moved on now, and I think just harnessing the power of that data, I think also will be a game changer going forwards.
Thank you.
For me, Peter, the most important thing is we have seen in the year 2021 how the supply chain, even many industries were struggling. Supply chain was growing. So this means I see two industries for young people very important. This is the IT industry and all what it means, any process to digitalization and visibility in any process of our life. And I see supply chain as well as very important. And that's why when I started 30 years ago in transport, I called it transportation. Now we call it supply chain. You can do so many things in this area that you can really get young people just to follow, understand, be very motivated doing their job. So our job, what we think in our company, we do it, and also JLR is also doing it, and many other companies, is just to bring this new generation of people who really have completely a new setup in the way they just see things, just to implement new things, just do it. This is the way it really works. And supply chain is one of the areas in the whole industry. I call it service industry, also internally at companies, where you can really develop a lot. You need to ask maybe some other areas in the company, but you have a lot of freedom to change things and to modify within one company the different supply chains, how you do things, if it's aftermarket or if it's material transport or finished car distribution. You are allowed really to invent and to innovate. And this is important that people are doing that, because without that, in my opinion, some companies will be leaders and some companies will be followers, all only depending on the supply chain. And intermodal transportation, as Nick was saying, for many OEMs, and I don't talk about GLR now in general. It has not become really a very important topic until now, but we talk about electric vehicles going for the housewife to the supermarket. But when we talk about long haul transportation, one truck is doing 1,400 kilometers. And every kilometer that you take this truck from the road and you put on the train, you just save 1 kilo CO2 is a lot. So if these CO2 emissions will be one day monitored and will cost money, people who hasn't started in intermodal transportation before, they will have a big problem to step in because they will have not the expertise to do that. That's why, in my opinion, this year is a good year to do things. Leave it for the year 23. Maybe other OEMs will be quicker than you. This is what I think.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks, Jordi. Thanks everyone who's watched and everyone who will watch on demand, which will appear later. If anyone has any questions that they wanted to ask directly to Nick or Jordi, within your member profile, you can always send them a private message and I'm sure they will respond to you. Let's keep safe. I love the open-mindedness, Nick. I think that worked well. It reminded me to an ancient, it was a Ford course many years ago, where one of the presenters stood on the stage and said, remember, your mind's like a parachute. Both only work when they're open. So have a great day. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
You can connect with all members within the EV community, send messages to each other and start to build relationships for the future. Also, take a look at our supplier showrooms. Our partners have got lots of products and services that they have to offer, which again could be of benefit to you. Make the most of the opportunity and thank you again for joining us.